working on this node setup, I had this idea for basically converting like a line of musical notes into like a color spectrum. And I had, I came up with this idea where each octave is a different color or spectrum of color. So this would be like red. If we change octaves here, this is like yellow to green. Then we have green to blue. This is still blue, blue to purple, purple to pinkish, and then pinkish to red. And it starts back over at 1. So you can also change the key here. So this is going to change what each note represents color-wise. So if I change it to like G, right now it's just major. But as you can see, so C is representative of this one, which would be the fourth. And then F, this one's black right here because there is no F natural in the key of G. So I would have to come in here and put a sharp, and that would fill this one out right here. Notice this one's green. I actually have this preset. You can change the local octave of each of the 8 blocks. So it'll respect the global octave, but then offset it. It's kind of the idea. So I was using that for the key of C here because otherwise it's gonna loop back around because there's 7 notes in a scale, but then there's 8 notes in like there's 7 notes, but then 8 notes in a scale. So I just had this go on to the next C. So this is C and this is C, but this is a higher C than this one, if that makes sense. I wanted to kind of show how this works a little bit. I'm using all geometry nodes here to do all of the math, and then I'm saving them as attributes here. Let me pull this up real quick. Saving this as attributes here and transferring over to the shader, which then is run through a hue saturation, which just changes this red base color. So this is the H, changes the hue and the value. So that way if we input anything else, it sets the value to 0, which will make it completely black. And so that's kind of the idea there. We can go into the nodes a little bit. These are all the same here. All these nodes are exactly the same. They're all procedural. And so inside this one, we've got a little bit of logic here to separate this line into its individual parts. So it's separated into 2 because it has to read two characters at a time. That way it can deal with sharps and flats. So it's going to deal with, it's going to read 2 of them, and the position is based on the index of the block, which I have preset for all of these. So this one's 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And this also, we know which characters to assign to which block. It's kind of the idea. Like I said, it's completely procedural. We're also having this index drive the position. So these cubes are 3 meters apart from each other. And so you're multiplying that by the index, so that way it just procedurally generates them separate from one another. If we go into the next layer, you can see this is where we actually store the data. So this is where we store the V and the H. Like I said, the V is so that way we don't have any misinputs. Like if I put any other character, you're going to see these turn black. And then the H is the actual color. So we have a little bit of logic going on here, which I'll get to in a second. So this is the key selector. Let me zoom out a little bit. This is the key selector. It has all the keys. Right now, I only have major sharp keys in here. I haven't done any flats or minor keys. Still work in progress. But this is essentially if the key value right here were to equal C, it's going to pull both the value and the color from this block and then send it forward. Otherwise, it'll continue to check down the line. And so if we go into one of these, this is the one for C. This kind of is really the first step. It identifies the letter and then assigns it to a value. So you can see the base C, which is this one, is going to assign it to 0. So that means we're not going to change this color at all. Like I said, the base color is red, so if it's 0, it's not going to change at all. But then for each letter we go throughout the scale, it's going to change. It's going to assign 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on to each of these letters. This is, so that then it goes through a switch. This is sent on for the color. I have this little bit of logic. This deals with the value. So if the input is anything but C or A through G, if it does not match the key, it's going to send out this massive number here. And up here, we're checking for that massive number. And if we receive it, we're going to send through a value of 0. And so that's what's going to make the cubes black here at the end. Going up, so yeah, like I said, we're just like instantiating that through all of these different keys here. Go up again. And I want to talk about this logic a little bit, and then we'll talk about the octaves just a little bit here. What's happening is we're sending, so we've got a color, which is going to be either 0 to 7, which we are then adding to by the octave. And so the octave, we're going to subtract 1 from. That is so it can be from 1 through 7 as opposed to like 0 through 6. Just make it a little more user-friendly. And it's being multiplied by 7. That's because there's 7 notes in a key. And so we're wanting to like expand this out. Then that's being added to the color. Yeah, so then it's going to be added to the color here. And then we're going to divide by 49, which is 7 by 7. So we have 7 octaves and 7 notes. So we're dividing by 49, so we're basically putting it back from, we're mapping it from 0 to 1 again, is kind of the idea. And then this 0.5 kind of normalizes. You'll see if I don't have this here, it's going to default to cyan, because that's the default if you change the hue at all. Like, see, if I unplug this, 0.5 is going to keep it red, but then if you put 0, it's going to make it cyan here. So we have this 0.5 over here to normalize it. And yeah, then that's sent through the hue, which goes up here. Again, we have our octaves. They're just spitting, yeah, they're just spitting straight through. And we're actually adding something here. We're adding the local octave to the octave. Like I said, it respects both. And then those are getting spit through to the next part. And so yeah, this is kind of in development. This one quick note. This is just to center it, if anybody was wondering. Yeah, so this is currently in development. I'm gonna try to make it based on actual music and maybe have it actually recognize it. So it's gonna be like sort of a live music visualizer. I don't know, but my idea is you play music and each note has its own representative block. And then you could create some kind of image off of that. So you can have a procedural image map with some kind of song. So I think that'd be super cool. That's kind of the end goal. So yeah, I hope you guys found this interesting.